Dead as a Doornail, Book 6 of the Stan Kraychik Mysteries. Author, Grant Michaels. Publisher, St. Martin's Press, New York. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 22. It's almost a relief that cassette number 4 is a continuation of the interview with Myron Kratz, whose attorney is now present. I'm not ready for any new players at this point. After his opening comments, Branco repeats his last question to Myron just before the previous interview was stopped. He sounds sterner now. Maybe he's getting tired. Or maybe it's the presence of Myron's lawyer. Where did you find the nail file you had previously given to Chip Holton as a gift? I found it in the old house at 101 Wiltham Street. For his part, Myron sounds blithely relaxed and confident, which may also be thanks to the presence of his lawyer, or perhaps be a happy handful of tranquilizers taken since the last session. Branco says, "And what were you doing there?" "I was walking Betty, and we ended up following Chip from the cafe where he works." "So, you did leave your store yesterday morning," says Branco. "Yes," says Myron, "and now I'm telling you the whole truth, Lieutenant. As I was saying, Betty needed a walk." "At what time was that?" "I don't recall exactly," says Myron. "I didn't think to look at my watch. I had other things on my mind." "What things?" "Haven't you ever followed someone, Lieutenant?" Branco says, "Do you often do that, Mr. Kratz? Follow people?" Myron's lawyer interrupts with some remark about irrelevancy, but Myron says it's okay. He wants to talk to Branco. He wants to tell him everything the way it really happened. He wants to be a good, responsible citizen who cooperates with the police. "Yes," says Myron, "I do sometimes follow people, depending, of course, on who the person is and where they might be going. Did you know where Mr. Holton was going this morning?" "No, but I did see him go inside that old building on Wiltham Street." Branco says, "And you followed him inside?" "Oh, no," says Myron. "I had no idea what he was doing there. There are times, Lieutenant, when it's not a good idea to drop in on people unannounced." "Then what happened?" "Chip was in there. 10 minutes or so. And when he came out, he was looking around suspiciously." "Could you be more specific?" Myron says. "He wanted to make sure no one saw him." "Did he see you?" "No," says Myron. "I pulled myself into a doorway, and it was snowing, remember? It was a goddamn whiteout." "Oh, excuse me for saying that on the tape. Can you rewind it?" "I guess not, but..." "Oh, wait, this is important. This is very important. This is probably the most important thing I can tell you. When Chip came out, he was limping." "Limping?" says Branco. "Yes," says Myron. "He was limping." "Why do you think that's important?" "Because he wasn't limping when he went in there." "Are you certain?" says Branco. "I followed him, didn't I?" "Damn that Myron. That's exactly what I did the day of Timmy's death. Followed Chip's grinding butt to Members Only Cafe, and the limp was obviously there. A wounded warrior indeed." "Go on," says Branco. "This is the part where I thought my lawyer should be present," says Myron. "I did go into that place myself, and that's when I saw Tamantha sprawled out on the stairway." "Tamantha," says Branco. Oh, sorry," says Myron. "I mean Timmy." Branco grunts. "And what do you mean by sprawled out?" "I mean he was dead," says Myron. "How'd you know that?" "I just knew," Branco asks. "Did you touch him?" "No," says Myron. "But I could tell." "How?" "Oh, Lieutenant, you know by looking when someone is dead. You don't have to touch them." "Mr. Kratz, are you experienced in these matters?" "No." "Do you realize it is possible that Tim Chignasi was still alive at that moment? That he might have been saved?" "Well, how would I know that?" says Myron. "He looked dead to me, and I wasn't about to go and touch him." "Where was your dog during all this?" "You mean Benji? Did you bring her into the house with you?" "Betty is a he, Lieutenant, and yes, he came into the house with me," Branco says coldly. "Go on." "Well," says Myron, "I suppose I ought to tell you about this too, although I'm not very proud of that naughty boy's behavior. Betty and Tamantha were best friends, just like two young buddies. You've heard the expression, a boy and his dog. Lieutenant, that was Betty and Tim. And that morning, Betty was a very naughty. He ran up the stairs to where Tamantha was, lying. Branco snarls. His name was Tim. I know that, Lieutenant, says Myron. I know his name was Tim. When he was being butch, anyway. There's no need to lose your patience. It's just a form of endearment. So you and Tim Chignassi were friendly? Of course, said Myron. What about that incident at the home show? It was Betty's reaction that assured me that Tim was dead. What reaction, says Branco. Betty went up to lick him. He always did that, and Timmy used to like it, but this time when Betty licked him, he started growling and barking. Betty was extremely upset, and I knew something was wrong. When I called him back to me, he was literally crying. I knew we should get out of there and call the police. That's when I found the nail file on my way out of the building to call you. Branco says, is that also when you saw the lens cap belonging to Thorin Hightower? You know about that too? Yes, we do, says Branco. Myron says, well, I thought these things might be useful. You can see that I was very careful to keep them both clean. I'm sure the lab will appreciate that, says Branco. So then, you called 911 to alert us about Timmy's body? Yes, says Meyer. But you didn't leave your name. I didn't see the need. You certainly are able to remain calm in stressful situations, Mr. Kratz. With the kind of life I lead, you have to. Were you able to stay cool with Mr. Holton? Myron's lawyer pipes in again, quibbling about irrelevance, and once again Myron shushes him. No, he says, let me talk. I want to explain everything to the police. I'm not ashamed to discuss anything I do. Then Myron says to Branco, Mr. Holton, as you insist on calling Chip, turns out to be a very dangerous character. I had no idea he would become so violent. He seemed very agreeable. Then I laid out the terms of our transaction. Branco says, he may have seemed agreeable, but he was scared. Scared, says Myron. Of what? Of me? What could I do to him? You had the nail file. Lieutenant, are you defending him? He attacked me. Maybe Mr. Holton didn't know what else to do when you changed the terms of your transaction. Myron says, I did not change the terms. Then there was a misunderstanding. Well said, Lieutenant. Branco says, so you arranged to meet with Mr. Holton to return his nail file in exchange for which you expected certain favors, is that right? Myron says, it sounds so Victorian when you say it like that, certain favors. But yes, I did hope that Chip and I could reach some friendly truce. I mean, I didn't really expect anything of him beyond, as the French say, making the plank. Would you care to explain that? Says Branco. Certainly, says Myron. Faire la planche is very popular with straight men. I suppose it's because they don't actively participate in the intimate act, and therefore they can feel absolved of any guilt. The term implies lying on one's back, but you can do it just as well standing up or even sitting down. One person makes the plank, and the other one does all the work. It's that simple. Being the plank is as passive as anyone can be and still be alive. Some men barely make a sound when they... Branco clears his throat. Thank you, Mr. Kratz. Certainly, Lieutenant. Are you intending to file charges against Chip Holton? A long pause follows, and now I wish I had a videotape of this interview as well. Finally, Myron speaks. Do I have to decide that right now? No, says Branco. Myron's attorney makes noises, but Myron shushes him again. Then he says, I'll let you know what I intend to do, Lieutenant, very soon. Now, would you please ask one or two of your burly men to escort me to the hospital? I believe I have the right to a complete medical workup, including an MRI, and I want everything I'm entitled to. Branco says, you certainly know your rights. It pays too, says Myron. Just one more thing, says Branco, and then you can go. Does this dog of yours, this Betty, does he ever lose hair? Myron answers proudly, that breed doesn't shed. Not even in the springtime? Never, says Myron. Do you mean to tell me that your dog has never lost one strand of hair from his body in all the time you've owned him? Myron says, well, I couldn't say that, Lieutenant. Once in a while you'll find a stray hair, but it's a rare thing, hardly matters. After that, the interview ends quickly. I think film buffs call this kind of thing a short subject. Just one more cassette and my afternoon's work is done. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.